Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. They've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon. Let's get to it.
Good morning and welcome to South Beach in Miami, home of Super Bowl 54 as well as FS1 Super Bowl week. We are right on the beach in our beautiful set. Please come by if you are in the area. Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm Jenny Taft. Thank you guys for being with us today. I'm alongside Shannon, Sharpe, and Skip Bayless.
Good morning, Miami. We love you, Miami, and we are obviously here at the epicenter of the Fox Sports Super Bowl 54 coverage, and we're obviously here in Miami to celebrate the 100th season of the National Football League and to get you ready for a fascinating Super Bowl matchup. But today is a tough day for all of us. We also come to you with very mixed emotions because today we're also here to reflect on the tragic and shocking loss of Kobe Bryant and his daughter, and to hopefully, as this show unfolds, to celebrate the life and times of Kobe Bryant. So we will talk some Super Bowl today, but we're about to talk a whole lot of Kobe Bean Bryant starting right now. And we do appreciate all the Kobe jerseys and all the Laker jerseys. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We do have Terrell Owens stopping by as well. We'll talk about Patrick Mahomes. We'll talk about the Super Bowl, but it's only appropriate to start today with the tragic death of Kobe Bryant. Kobe was killed in a helicopter crash in Southern California yesterday. He was on his way to his Mamba Sports Academy with his 13-year-old daughter, Gianna Gigi Bryant. All 9 people on board the helicopter lost their lives in the crash. Kobe was 41 years old. Shannon, I'd like to start with you. I know how much Kobe meant to you. What are your thoughts?
Boy, it's going to be tough, Skip.
Yep.
Because it feels like a family member passed, a real close family member. Because I think the thing is, for the last quarter century, we watched Kobe Bryant grow up before our eyes.
We did.
We watched a 17-year-old kid come into the NBA and become a champion, become a husband, become a father, become one of the all-time great players in NBA history. And then we watched that career end and transition to another phase of his life. And it looks like he was about to take on that like he attacked his NBA career. Mm-hmm. And he was about to be just as great in his second career as he was in his first career. And when I got the news, I'm like, somebody's, because sometimes you get things like this, somebody's passed, and they're like, this can't be true. So I jump on it, I'm scouring. And I don't see it coming across the news anywhere, so I say, there's no way it's true. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, it starts to flow in. And then you realize, yeah, this is true. And, they say 41 years doesn't seem like a long time, but you live a life as accomplished as Kobe Bryant, and you live a life as fulfilling as Kobe Bryant. 41 years is an eternity. He got the nickname Black Mamba, and a lot of people know what a Black Mamba is. It's a very venomous snake. But what he does, what makes him so dangerous, is that he'll attack without provocation. Kobe Bryant didn't need you to be his enemy on the court to drop 50 on your head. Because his mentor, the guy that he admired more than anybody, he hung 55 on Michael Jordan and said, take that with you into retirement. That's the mentality that he possessed every time he took the court. Skip, I had an opportunity to meet him at the Icon Award. And I was talking to him, and I was like, Kobe, you seem so at peace.
How many years ago?
This was about 2 years ago, Skip. Okay. 2 years, February, it'd be 2 years. He's like, Sharpe, I'm at peace. He said, because I left nothing on the court. I did everything I possibly could to become the best player that I possibly could. The way I trained, the way I ate, the way I practiced, the way I played. He said, now I just have a different focus. He says, I'm at that same way, the same focus and the same mindset that I took to the NBA and to the court. I now have it on the creative side. It's about developing stories. It's about telling stories. Yep. Skip, I just text Kobe. I DM'd him. Let me pull it up, Skip. A month ago, I said, this was December 26th at 5:47 p.m. I said, if I don't get those size 13 gamers, it's going to be on. Emojis. Merry belated Christmas to you and your family. He hit me back. What gamers? I texted him a picture of the Kobe 5 Proto, the Chaos. PlayStation got to have a special code to get them. He's like, LOL. I said, congrats on the new edition. A little King Mamba Jr. keeps saluting you. Hope all is well with you and your fam. He's like, thanks, fam. My princesses are tough enough. Emoji, muscle, love.
Wow.
Beautiful.
It really is.
Skip. It doesn't even seem real. Skip, I remember my grandmother said, she said, son, there's one appointment that you'll never be able to cancel. Kobe had an appointment. And people are like, well, why didn't Kobe drive? How many times had Kobe flown? He flew to practice every day. He flew to the Staples Centers every home game.
All helicopter.
All helicopter. He never drove.
I'm not sure there's a person in this country who has helicoptered more than Kobe has over the last 25 years.
Sure.
Maybe a pilot.
Maybe.
In this.
Well, I mean,
but I'm saying, but for a person to go to work, think about it, Skip. This is how he went to practice. Mm-hmm. This is how he went to work via helicopter. Skip, it was just his time, and it's so sad. I mean, my heart breaks. I mean, because like I said, to watch him grow up, to see what he became, where he came from, and to see, like I said, you're not supposed to mourn. You're not supposed to feel sad. You're supposed to be happy that he's in a better place. And we say we're never supposed to question the man above because he knows all. He sits high and he looks low. But man, today, and I think now, Skip, whatever little petty gripes you might have with an individual, family member, friend, I think after what transpired yesterday, I think it's time to set all that to the side and say, you know what? I got this little petty gripe, but what if that person were to leave without saying, I'm sorry, or we're better than that? Kobe, bro, we miss you. We miss you, Gigi. We miss the other 7 members that also perished in that crash. But boy, Skip, this is a sad, sad day. I know you remember when Roberto Clemente perished in that delivering aid. I will remember when Dale Earnhardt crashed doing his sport. But Skip, the reach now of what the NBA have, you see Neymar, you see Cristiano Ronaldo, you see the guys that he touched. This is unparalleled. His legacy is big. His legacy now is bigger than basketball. It's about the people, it's about the lives that he touched while he played the game that he loved so much of basketball.
So to all your points, all great ones, all deep ones, when I woke up here in Miami yesterday, first thing I did was call my wife, Ernestine, in Los Angeles. First thing she said to me, man, it's so foggy, I can't see across the street. I didn't think anything about it. I later read that the LA Police Department grounded all of its helicopters all morning yesterday in the Los Angeles area because it was just too foggy to fly. So a couple hours passed here yesterday, and I posted a picture on social media of a car that my friend Lil Wayne is going to let me use this week. And I was proud of that picture, and about 1 minute passed, and my phone rang as I walked back through the lobby of our hotel, and it was Ernestine. And I thought, oh, she saw the picture. Maybe she liked it. She usually doesn't like any of my pictures. And she was crying like I'd never heard her cry in the 15 years we've been together. She couldn't even spit out what she was crying about, and I was horrified because I thought something had happened to her or somebody at home.
Sure.
And she finally managed to get out, Kobe died. I said, no, that's not possible. And the details, as you said, were sketchy. And I spent the next 10 minutes trying to talk her off the ledge because I said, they got this wrong.
Right.
It just can't be. No, Kobe did not die. And then once the gravity of it struck me, I spent the next half hour in denial, to your point, because there's no way Kobe could die.
Right.
He was too big to die. He was too great to die.
Right.
If you'd given me a list of 10,000 people yesterday morning and said one of these people is going to die today, I might have put Kobe Bean Bryant at the bottom of my list. He was just too big. And yet, I spent the rest of the day, as maybe a lot of us did, having to come to grips with my own mortality. Because if he can go, Any of us can go.
Yes.
It hit me right between the eyes once again to your point, how fragile life is, how fleeting it can be. It is here today and gone tomorrow. And the ultimate cliche is we're not promised tomorrow.
Right.
And the other ultimate cliche is you've got to live and love every single moment. That's the ultimate truth of life. And if there's any silver lining to this, it made us all stop and say, man, am I doing this right? Mm-hmm. And yet, to your point, again, what hit me hardest was that Kobe was becoming greater in his second career than he was in his first career.
Yep.
And to me, he was becoming so big, he had taken on like movie star status.
Yes.
Where he was a leading man. He had mellowed to the point that he had become a global icon, like an evangelist for basketball, where he would preach and teach basketball all over the world. And he let go of all the anger that drove him as a player to where he was a beautiful person to watch. And I always trusted him to react as the ambassador of the game, sort of the conscience of basketball.
Yes.
And I waited for his tweet to put it all in perspective.
Right.
So to me, losing Kobe at 41 was like losing Michael Jackson at 50, or Prince at 57, or even if I can go back a little blast from the past, Elvis at 42.
Sure.
But there was one huge difference here. There was an element of self-destruction in all the downfalls of Michael Jackson, Prince, and Elvis, some element of self-destruction. And in this case, this was straight, unthinkable tragedy. Just straight tragedy.
Yep.
Inexplicable tragedy, depending on how you view it spiritually. As you said, you've got to try to make peace with it in whatever your life view is.
You have to.
But I can't even fathom or imagine the pain his wife is suffering to lose a husband and a daughter like that.
Right.
Whew. Boom.
No, but Skip, because nobody thinks when you leave the house, because he had kissed Kobe so many times as he left to go to practice, as he left to go to work. I'm sure Gigi, they've taken this helicopter to games and to practice so many times before. Never in a million years did she think this was going to be the last time that she hugged and kissed her husband and her child.
Well, you just don't, because you can't.
No, but that just goes to show you, Skip, is that this pettiness that we have sometimes, the little silliness.
You do get on my nerves occasionally. And today I'm going to let it go.
You're going to let it go? I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
But Skip, the cold and the callousness that he had on the court, the assassin that we applaud him for, once he stepped aside, Skip, you saw a transformation in Kobe over the last decade or so, that he became a much softer person. He was less guarded off the court. Skip, when I met him at this Icon Award in February of 2018, Kobe Bryant had only seen me maybe a handful of times, but he made me feel like he had known me for 20 years. And the way he talked to me, and he was just like, I'm like, and I'm looking at him, and you mentioned like he was an evangelist for the game of basketball. Hollywood's biggest and brightest. They wanted to talk to him.
They did.
You see the way they looked at him like little kids look at him and Michael Jordan and LeBron James. That's how the A-list celebs looked at Kobe Bryant. That's what he became. A 17-year-old. Probably never been to California.
Yep.
All of a sudden, he was going to get turned loose on the 405 and the 10 and make a name for himself. Become one of the greatest. Become a father, a husband. Skip, and that Gigi, she looked just like him. She looked and to see them sitting courtside at ball games, especially WNBA games, and she's asking him questions, and he has his arm around her, and he's telling her, man, it breaks your heart.
So I reflect back on that 18-year-old Kobe, and everybody knows I'm the biggest Michael Jordan fan on the planet, covered him in Chicago. The audacity of this kid to come straight out of high school, and he didn't just try to beat Michael Jordan, he tried to be Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
He adopted his walk. He started to wag the tongue like Michael did.
Yes.
He actually started to speak in the same cadence and rhythm and sort of dialect, if you will, that Michael brought out of North Carolina with him. And I'm thinking, man, you are asking for trouble here.
Right.
And he just about pulled it off. Mm-hmm. If anybody, he was the closest thing to Jordan since Jordan.
You got to realize, as a 17-year-old kid, he said, I'm going to be better than Michael. Now, remind you, Michael Jordan had already won probably 3 or 4 titles. He was already regarded universally as the best player in basketball. As a 17-year-old high school kid, said, I'm going to be better than him. Mm-hmm. Really?
And I used to say this about Michael Jordan. He was the first one I encountered of this ilk. Michael was a supremely talented overachiever. Mm-hmm. Kobe was also that. Tiger, I put Tiger in that same category. Supremely talented overachiever, because what Kobe did was he tried to outwork Michael also.
Yes.
Nobody can appreciate how hard those three, including Tiger, have worked given their gifts, where they took it up to a level that was virtually unbeatable. Mm-hmm. And all three possessed whatever that gene is it's that cold-blooded killer gene.
Yep.
It's that I refuse to lose. And it propelled all three to epic greatness. Yet then Kobe goes into a second career, and all of a sudden, he's a financial baron. And all of a sudden, he's becoming a Hollywood mogul. And all of a sudden, I'm realizing that he is eclipsing Jordan in their second careers. Michael has obviously struggled as the owner and operator of the Charlotte NBA franchise. Mm-hmm. And Michael never had a great relationship with any of his children. And all of a sudden, Kobe's becoming the father of the year. Mm-hmm. And to watch him, again, to your point, grow up right before our very eyes, because there were some rocky times. Mm-hmm. There was the Eagle, Colorado incident, and then there was Shaq versus Kobe ego clashes, mm-hmm. and there was Phil Jackson ripped Kobe twice in books, once starting in 2004 when he just called him flat out uncoachable.
Right.
And then a lot of us thought that Kobe basically ran Shaq off and said, I can do this by myself, and it was a hard road.
Right.
Because remember, first year, no Shaq, missed playoffs. Second year ended with that Game 7 loss to Phoenix,
where he barely shot the ball.
Kobe shot 3 times in the second half and scored 1 point with 1 rebound. Mm-hmm. And the next year, they quick first-round exit, 5 games to Phoenix. And the next year, they lost to Boston in the finals in 6. And then somehow Kobe and Phil made peace with each other. And boom, they beat Orlando in the finals. And boom, they got revenge over Boston in the next finals. And all of a sudden, Kobe turned into everything we wanted him to be from the start. Mm-hmm. We got to watch him grow up. That's why I think he took a piece of our heart with him, because we all went through all those things on our little levels. We all did.
Skip, it's like you mentioned Michael Jackson. We like Michael because we saw him in the Jackson 5. We saw the little teenage kid, and we saw him grow up and to become what he became. We saw that. And so when we see people grow up before our eyes, we see kids become young men and grow into the latter stages of their life. Even though this wasn't a latter stage, Skip, we feel a special connect because we like, oh, that's my guy. Skip, how many kids? I mean, you hear kids, Kobe, guys shooting jumpers. Kobe, it was like this generation, the guys that are playing now.
Sure.
Kobe and LeBron is to them what LeBron and LBJ to Mike. They looked up to Mike. Well, this generation looked up to Kobe, Skip, because that's what they saw. A lot of these kids were, when Jordan retired, they probably was like 5 or 6 years old. So they barely remember Mike. But Kobe, Skip, that's what he wanted. Skip, you talk about he walked like him. He had the knee sleeve pulled down just like Mike. He had the wristband on his elbow just like Mike. Everything Mike did, Kobe was a facsimile copy of it. And the only reason that we put Jordan in so high regard is that because we saw it before Kobe did it. Because had Kobe did it before Jordan, we would say Kobe is the guy. He was.
So what did we see from the start? We saw a kid from Lower Merion High School outside Philly come to LA in the tradition of Showtime, of Magic and Kareem and Worthy. And in his first playoff series against Utah, in the final closeout game, Kobe shot 4 air balls at age 18, 2 of them in the last few seconds to tie or win the game.
Right.
How many kids would have been broken by that?
Yes.
How many would have taken years to overcome that as they tried to walk in the shadow of Magic and Kareem. Mm-hmm. It just drove Kobe through the offseason, and you just saw the arc from there.
People looked at that and said, look, I told you he wasn't going to be that, but I looked at it like this. The coach trusted an 18-year-old.
He did.
With all these grown men, you take those shots.
Trust me, Jerry West was trusting him too, because
that drove him to become great, because his desire to become great was greater than the desire that people wanted to see him fail. The time that it takes. You see all the shots that these guys make. How many times do you think those practice those shots? All those times that Kobe 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, he pulls up for the game winner, or he shoots that 25-foot three for the game winner, or he drives and he dunks over someone. They did that over and over in practice. And to see that, and to see, man, 41, I'm 51. I got 10 more years than Kobe. And I'm like, I just remember lying there last night in my bed, I'm thinking, I'm like, Kobe gone for real, for real.
For real.
I'm like.
And yet, the last time we saw him on the basketball court, speaking of Utah in the first series that he played in the playoffs,
yes,
it came full circle, 20 years, to a game against Utah at Staples. Last game, and he puts up 60 on Utah. And after the game, he just about dropped the mic. He actually sat it down on the floor and said, "Mama out."
That's full circle. From 4 air balls to a 60-pointer.
That's Hollywood, man. That's a Hollywood ending that I could not script. And this was an ending none of us can fathom. It's just impossible that this happened, but we're going to try through the rest of this show to come to grips with it, and we hope we'll help you continue to come to grips with it. And we appreciate you all being here today. Thank you very much.
We appreciate you guys. True, though, that you don't have to know someone personally to understand the impact they had on the sports community and the world. No mercy. And welcome back to Miami. 6 days to go to the Super Bowl. Look at our lovely set. We're so happy to be here with all of you all week. And at the age of 24, Patrick Mahomes already has an MVP under his belt and now will be making his first Super Bowl appearance. NFL.com has already ranked Mahomes as the 30th best Super Bowl quarterback before he's even played in the big game. Brett Favre said he sees the comparison between himself and Mahomes. So Shannon, this question goes to you first. Is Mahomes being overhyped?
Hell, I want to know the 29 other quarterbacks that played in the Super Bowl that's better than him.
Really?
Yeah, they're talking about he's the 30th. Who the other 29? Did I miss something?
Wait a second. Have you suffered memory loss? Do you remember this guy named Brady? Do you remember there's this guy named Montana?
He ain't the other 29.
Guy you played with named Elway? Yeah. I don't know. So Oliver, is Patrick Mahomes better than John Elway? I'm putting you on the spot. Well, you asked and I'm answering.
He asked. He did ask.
I asked you to come in the kitchen, not start cooking. No, he's not overhyped, Skip. He's the best. He's the most talented quarterback in the game. He's the best quarterback currently playing. This isn't hype. Skip, you can seem like this is Ryan Tannehill. But this is Josh Allen. This is Patrick Mahomes, a regular season MVP. He would be the second quarterback to win a regular season MVP and a Super Bowl within the first 3 years of his career.
Okay.
The only other guy to do that is Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner was 28.
Okay, can I reemphasize what you just said?
Yeah.
If he were to pull this.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
He has a great chance, but you got to be here to have a chance to pull it off.
You do.
I know a guy that's not here.
Really?
Yeah.
You mean the guy who. Wait.
You keep on running.
Rings.
He ain't got 7.
9 shots.
Skip, look. The comparison between Pat Mahomes is what he did last year and what he did. Now, remember, he did get hurt. He missed 2.5 games.
Yep.
And he still came back and threw for over 4,000 yards. I think he was 26, 27, and 4 or 5 INTs. But here's the problem that I have with people, is that they compare him to what he did last year. Nobody said if Tom Brady does not replicate what he did in 2007, 5,000 yards, 4,800 yards, 50 touchdowns.
Yep.
If he doesn't do that again, he's a terrible quarterback. This is what Pat Mahomes is up against, Skip. He has to replicate that. He has statistically one of the 3 or 4 best seasons in all of football. 50 touchdowns, 5,000 yards in his second year. In 17 starts, that's what he did. So now he only threw for 4,000 yards only. Did you see what he did in the playoffs? Down 24-0, 7 straight touchdowns. Did you see what happened the 2 weeks ago? Down 17-10, go 23 straight. Down 17-7 and go 23 straight points. Skip, he's unbelievable. This is not hype. He's the real deal. And I've said this before. I played in Pro Bowls, played in the era with Marino. I've watched Aaron Rodgers up close and personal. I believe they're the 2 best throwers of the football that we've ever seen. I'm not so sure over the next 4 or 5 years, Patrick Mahomes won't sit on that mantle. He'll be the best thrower of the football that we've ever seen. Skip, there's not a throw that he can't make. From a level platform, which is straight in the pocket, he can move outside of the pocket, throw the ball for distance, and throw it for accuracy. He's not hype. He's the real deal.
I will give you, he is the most gifted thrower in today's game. I will give you, he has the most potential of any quarterback playing today. And I will give you, he is being absurdly overhyped right now, to the point that it is dangerously overhyped, to the point I feel sorry for Patrick Mahomes. This is turning into Patrick Mahomes week here in Miami. This is like a 7-day coronation of Patrick Mahomes. I'm already hearing Patrick Jordan, as in Michael Jordan. And I'm wondering, he's won what? Nothing. He's won nothing. There may be a day when Patrick Mahomes will out Jordan. He'll win 7 Super Bowls with 7 MVPs. Jordan, obviously, 6 and 6.
Right.
There may come a day when Patrick Mahomes out Brady's Brady and he wins 7 Super Bowls with 7 fourth-quarter game-winning drives. Brady 6 and 6. But right now, I'm looking at a team that got a lot of breaks to be in the position you just talked about. And it's a great position to be in. And they're what now? 1.5 favorite in this game. I'll give you that. But you want to talk about a lot of meant to be breaks so far? Because I'm going to remind you again, the division that you played in for so long, that AFC West, it featured Broncos, Raiders, who went 7-9, and the Chargers were one of the biggest disappointments in all of football this side of my Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, yeah.
My 8-8 Cowboys. And that will be the last Cowboy reference in this show. Thank you very much. You know, usually we take this show on the road, and it's, you know what happens? It's like half Cowboy jerseys. Well, I got one there. I got a T-shirt, you know. I got a Cowboy shirt underneath a Laker jersey, and I appreciate that. But usually it's about, do we have one over there? Yeah, we do. Thank you very much. But usually it's about 50-50. And now everybody's in hiding, and I don't blame you. I got it.
I don't blame them.
I'm with you. But I'm going to remind you that when Patrick Mahomes went to Tom Brady for that regular season game, the Patriots got robbed. Remember the N'Keal Harry play that they just flat out missed on the scoring play? Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
Remember the Stephon Gilmore scoop and score that they just blew dead? Remember remember the deep ball that Brady threw to little Dorsett, and it's just blatant pass interference at the 5 and they don't call it? It was just a flat out robbery. So it was a big break, right? And then how about Miami going to New England to end the regular season? How about that? Yeah. Somehow the Dolphins ended the Patriots dynasty effectively.
I mean, just imagine had Tom Brady played in that ball game. Oh, he did play.
Oh, he did play. And just imagine if Brady had played against the Titans. Oh, he did play.
Oh, he did.
He had no help in that game, but he did play. And the Titans, the Cinderella Titans, pulled that off. But not only that, the Titans then went to Baltimore and pulled that off.
Yep.
You don't think that was a huge break for Patrick Mahomes? He would have had to go beat Lamar Jackson at Lamar Jackson.
Right.
And just me, again, I give you all the things you said, and you love Patrick Mahomes, and I respect that, at least today. But the point is that Lamar had a better year, just a better performance.
Yes.
You know, he was just better this year than Patrick was. And Russell Wilson was just better, a little bit better than Patrick Mahomes was for the year. And I remind everybody that Patrick Mahomes lost back-to-back home games back in week 5 and week 6. And he managed 13 points against Indianapolis and lost 19-13. He managed 24 against Houston and lost 31-24. And then he got to play Bill O'Brien coached Texans in a home playoff game in which they fell behind 24-0, and Bill O'Brien said, "Here, let me give it right back to you," when he took the field goal.
I mean, 24 points in a playoff game normally.
It's extraordinary. I got you. But it's Bill O'Brien and that Houston defense that I never trusted from the start. And then they got to play the Cinderella Titans at home. And all of a sudden, Vrabel comes out with this cockamamie scheme. They're rushing 3 the whole game. They're going to go after Patrick Mahomes with a 3-man rush. And I'm saying, what are you doing? You can't try to outwit him. Just try to outplay him. And they got ahead 17-7 and predictably blew that. And here we are in Miami for the coronation. And I'm not seeing all that just yet. Maybe we will. But I'm going to remind you, you know this as well as I do. They're up against a force in the 49ers.
Oh, absolutely.
The 49ers have steamrolled through the NFC and the NFC playoffs. And they are the most physical team in pro football. And I don't know if a lot of people really accept or respect that or really grasp that. That's a physical football team. And we're about to talk about this, but that team is overseen by a coach you know very well. And the point is, they're playing old school smash mouth football, but they're doing it creatively.
Right.
They're difficult to deal with.
Yes.
And they got 5 high draft picks across their defensive front that will give Patrick some problems.
Yes.
So, you know, you're in a good spot. He's in a good spot, a great spot. Degree of difficulty, high in this game.
Right.
So if you can do it here on this stage against that team, I will, next Monday morning, we'll be back in LA, obviously, but I will have to come in with hat in hand. I will have to eat some crow.
I mean,
and you will gloat.
I mean, I don't take no satisfaction in this.
No, that's all you do.
Never.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes is not Dak Prescott, but he okay.
Yeah.
He okay. I mean, I'll take it.
By the way, I'm not dismissing the possibility that Dak Prescott long-term will be better than Patrick Mahomes. Long-term. Thank you. Closed. Next subject.
Shall we?
No mercy.
How about we talk about the team that Patrick Mahomes will be facing? It's only taken Kyle Shanahan 3 years to reach the Super Bowl as a head coach, but Kyle has some experience on his side with his father, Mike Shanahan, helping him prepare. Mike won 2 Super Bowls in Denver with our very own Shannon Sharpe. So Shannon, this question for you. It's interesting because this is a quarterback that you love, but this is a coach that helped you to your first 2 Super Bowls.
Yes. It's my greatest concern because I know what Mike is capable of. And this is what he really wants to do, Skip. Having talked to Mike over the last couple of years, I think he's perfectly content being in this role as opposed to being a head coach because all he does is watch practice tape and watch game tape. He doesn't have to put together a practice schedule. He doesn't have to worry about travel. He doesn't have to worry about cuts and transactions.
Yep.
He has to worry about none of that. All he is in the lab coming up with a formula that's going to help his son win the Super Bowl. I know what this man is capable of, Skip, and you give him 2 weeks. The thing is with him, he's going to look at the way they practice, he's going to look at the game, and he's going to look at Kansas City, and he says, okay, this is what they like to do. Now, Mike, they're going to run the football. This is what the 49ers, this is who they are by nature, running the football. But he's going to give them so many different formations and so many different looks while he's running the football. This is not going to be Tennessee where we hand it to Derrick Henry or we toss it to Derrick Henry. No, Deebo Samuel's going to get 3 or 4 handoffs. Emmanuel Sanders will get 2 to 3. Mostert, Breda, they'll get their touches with so many different formations, so many different looks, because the key to beating the Chiefs has been and always will be the tried and true formula. You keep high-powered offenses led by a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, you keep his butt on the sideline because the more cracks you give at Skip, they have an unbelievable defense. But the more cracks he gets at you, the more chances he gets an opportunity to see what you're doing and what you're trying to do, the less likely you are to beat it. Kyle understands that. Mike understands that. It reminds me of a situation like our first Super Bowl in San Diego. We played the Packers. Brett Favre was third consecutive MVP. They were back. They were just had won the Super Bowl the year before.
Yep.
Okay, we had a good defense. We won the 85 Bears, but what we do? We ran the football. 39 rush attempts, almost 180 yards. We're going to limit Brett Favre's possessions. They're going to try to do everything they possibly can to limit those possessions. Kansas City will have to have their best defensive game of the year in order to beat this team, because Mike Shanahan and Kyle Shanahan will come up with a game plan that's heavy run. And if they're not careful, Skip, this game can get away from them. But I'm not concerned about that defense and that front four, because Patrick Mahomes and those weapons will make their plays. But you can't make plays if you're not on the field. And the 49 and the Chiefs is not a ball club that really takes the ball away and put points on the ball for their offense. They have to score. So that's my biggest concern, is what Mike Shanahan is doing as we speak.
By the way, we've got these reversed. You should have that one.
That is true.
Push that one
Get
over
this
here.
right
Thank you. Now we got it. Thank you.
There we go. That's good.
I want our audience here and in their living rooms, wherever they might be watching, to understand the predicament this man finds himself in right now. He loves him some Mahomes boy. I got it. But all of a sudden, he finds himself in a can't win almost, because the guy who masterminded his first 2 Super Bowl rings is overseeing the offense of the team facing Mahomes boy in this Super Bowl. And he knows it in his heart of hearts. He's up against not only Kyle, but double jeopardy. Mike Shanahan is the advisor to his son. He's the unofficial head coach of the 49ers.
And I've known Kyle Shanahan since he was 10.
He's a little kid. And all of a sudden, right before your very eyes, the formula by which you were able to win your first 2 Super Bowl rings in Denver is taking shape with this team.
Yep.
These guys, they're doing just what they did in 1997 to the Packers. It's the same blueprint.
It is.
All of a sudden, I look back at that Super Bowl against Brett Favre, and John Elway threw for a grand total of 123 yards. It's Jimmy G all over again. You turned John, what was he, 37 at that point? He got to go along for a great ride. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to an obvious first ballot Hall of Famer, but at that stage and age, it was time to run the football.
Right.
And you found out of heaven, out of the sixth round like Brady, Terrell Davis. He had some issues at Georgia. I can't remember all the injuries. And
had a coach, and the coaches didn't get along.
Didn't get along, and all of a sudden, Mike said, I can do something with Terrell Davis, who, by the way, is in the Hall of Fame alongside you.
Right.
And what happened in that Super Bowl game? He went 30 carries for 157 yards. That'll work.
Yep. That
kept John Elway kind of out of the way, and it kept Brett Favre off the field for the most part. And you hung on, what was it, 31 to 24? Okay. And you had a Super Bowl ring, and you turned right around the next year and pretty much rinse and repeated the same formula.
Yep.
Right? Yep. And all of a sudden, you win again, and you've got two Super Bowl rings. Wow, that's pretty good. And all of a sudden, we fast forward to 2020, and it's happening again, right on schedule for Mahomes boy, because Jimmy G just got away with completing 6 passes in the NFC Championship game. True. 6 passes. That's impossible. Yeah, 2 in the second half. You can't do that today, but they did.
Right.
And they found a kid named Mostert who's bounced all around this league on practice squads and cut 6 times. And all of a sudden, Mike and Kyle Shanahan say, he can run now. He was a track. You know, he could run track in high school and college at Purdue.
Sure. Right.
Guess what? If we get creative and clever, because there are a lot of bells and whistles. This is not Derrick Henry down your throat.
Nope.
This is all over the map with smoke and mirrors.
A lot of window dressing.
Lots of stuff. There's a lot of motions going on, and a lot of what they call outside zone, not to get too technical, where they are outsmarting you and outflanking you and then out-physicaling you. And I actually heard several of the receivers, starting with Kittle, you call him the best tight end, but why do you give him the edge? Because he can block.
He's a dominating blocker.
Dominating blocker. And after the NFC game, they're all talking about, we take great pride in blocking.
You got to.
Well, how many diva receivers today would take pride in blocking?
No.
Not
No.
many, if any.
That system is not for everyone. Because in order for you to run the ball, look, the offensive line gets you to the line of scrimmage. But for the kind of runs that Mostert was having in that NFC Championship game, Skip, down the field, you got to have wide receivers that's rooting out strong safeties and knocking people off, holding up on the corners outside. That's the only way you get long runs. That's the only way you get 200-plus yards rushing. Offensive line did a great job getting him to the line of scrimmage unscathed. He had to make no sudden moves. He didn't have to dodge anybody in the backfield. But once you break the line of scrimmage, in order for you to get those kind of runs that they got, your wide receivers, Deebo Samuel, Emmanuel Sanders, are doing a great job of knocking people off down the field.
Emmanuel Sanders was gloating after the NFC Championship game about how many great blocks he threw. I've never heard that. That was a thing of the past, the distant past, like prehistoric past.
There are very few receivers that see their value outside of catching the football. Emmanuel Sanders, Kyle Shanahan has done a great job of convincing his guy, Deebo Samuel, Emmanuel Sanders, to name a few, that, you know what, guys, you might not catch 10 balls, but you can help us win the ball game by blocking down the field. Because, see, Skip, when you look at all you see is 10 catches, 150 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and that's your only value, it's hard for you to buy into run blocking. But these guys have bought into run blocking, and guess where they are? In Miami. And guess where those diva receivers that caught 100 passes and 1,500 yards, guess where they are? Watching.
And why is Debo nicknamed Debo? We know why. He's one bad you-know-what.
Yep.
And he is as physical a wide receiver, even as a rookie, as I see in the league.
Right.
So he can run it and he can block it.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, Mike Shanahan is overseeing saying, I got the formula for old Sharpe here. So I just might be able to put old Sharpe right back in his place, and maybe I can derail
Mahomes.
Patrick Jordan, as we're calling him. Right?
What is that? Look, they're still going to look. There's one thing that says, okay, this is what we need to do. There's something else to do it. Skip, look, let's not minimize what this guy's done. He's special. They have weapons. I don't know if we've seen a guy this talented have this kind of weapons. Duper and Clayton were great receivers, but nobody possessed the kind of speed that these guys have. This is a track team. And Mahomes does a great job. And what now you got to factor in his legs, because we've seen him go get 8 first downs and over 50 yards rushing in the over 100 yards rushing in the 2 games combined. And he had a run, Skip. That's his moment. That might be his moment. You know, that 27-yard touchdown run running like Derrick Henry. I thought he looked baby Henry myself.
I saw it again last night, and I thought, are they playing this in slow motion? Because he looked like he was running like a 5.40 maybe.
But we all know who he can outrun.
Yeah. Well,
we?
He doesn't really. He's 42 years old.
I didn't call no name. You know who I was talking about.
I'm glad you brought that up, because he had one run against Mahomes. I think he ran for like 17 yards. Remember that in the fourth quarter?
That one.
No, 17.
7.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And it probably ended his career. But
Oh, what are you going to do?
No mercy.
Welcome back to Undisputed. We are live from Miami as the sports world continues to mourn the loss of Kobe Bryant, who was killed in a helicopter crash yesterday, along with his daughter Gigi and 7 others. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar said he will always remember Kobe as more than just an athlete. Michael Jordan said that Kobe was, quote, like a little brother to me. Fox Sports NBA analyst Chris Broussard is joining us this morning. We appreciate you being here, Chris. And I just thought I'd start with you on when you heard the news. Your thoughts on what happened?
Well, I was actually in the air myself. I was flying here through Chicago, so I was about to land in Chicago. And I was getting texts before we landed, and somebody texted me OMG. So I hit them back with a question mark, like, what? And they said Kobe died. And I'm thinking, this can't be Kobe Bryant, I put in quick. And then they told me, and then the helicopter and all that. And I mean, it was like a punch to the gut. You know, I was just stunned and devastated like everybody. And, I wanted to cry. I didn't, but I really felt like I was going to cry. And, not that we had a great relationship, but we had a good relationship. We'd email here and there occasionally, and we had good interactions when I saw him. But there's so many reasons to be devastated. But for me, I'll say one is that he had made the transition from basketball superstar to life after basketball smoother than anyone I'd ever seen. Yep. And when he was a player, I actually was concerned about his life after basketball because he seemed so focused on basketball and that was his life that I was like, what's he gonna do afterwards? And he went full bore into being a business mogul, a media mogul, a best-selling author, got an Oscar for his short film. And he was just, very few athletes who were great, like superstars at their sport. And honestly, to your credit, you're one. But many, their second act is rarely as good as their first. His looked like it was going to be. As great as he was as a player, it looked like his second act after basketball was going to be as good as his first, or close, which is saying a lot. And so to see that cut short, that really devastated me. And one thing I'll learn from Kobe, like I want to apply this to my life, and I think everyone can, regardless of your field of endeavor. He didn't do anything halfway. Like, he didn't do anything just to get it done, just because I have to, just to be mediocre. He went full bore with everything. When he played basketball, that's all he thought about. And once he was done, now I'm on to this. I'm all about my business. I don't need to be on all the TV shows. He did a little with the scout, the details, and, he coached his daughter, obviously. But he went full bore into being a family man and a business mogul. And he was doing it. And so I want to apply that to my life, full bore in whatever I'm doing. And I think, to me, as great as the basketball legacy is, I think his legacy as far as mental strength on the court and off the court is really what a lot of people are going to remember as well.
Very well said, Chris. I think for me, when I heard it, I teared up. I found it hard trying to explain that because I was telling my sister, who's at home now watching my dogs, and she's right there in LA, and she didn't know, so I called her. And it feels like a family member passed. And I think, as we were talking off air, Chris, is that we watched him grow up from 17-year-old kid, and we watched him become a champion. We watched him become a husband. We watched him become a father. We watched him grow into one of the all-time great basketball players in NBA history. We watched that. And we saw him transition. 20 years, one organization. I gave it everything I had. The way I trained, the way I focused, the way I practiced, the way I played, the way I studied film. That's it. Now, here I am now. He said it's so hard for him because all he's thinking about was stories. He wanted to tell stories. And he says, that's all I do. And he said, the hardest thing about what I do now is something comes to my mind, I got to get up. Like, it might be 3 o'clock in the morning. It might be 1 o'clock. I can't sit there because of the basketball practice, Skip. Basketball, you got to wait till the next day. He said when you're creative and your mind is flowing, you get up and you start writing at that very moment. So you might have just laid down, but something comes to your mind, you pop right up out of bed and you start writing over again. You said something very interesting. You said that of the greats, he had the best, probably one of the best transitions to start of anybody. And I think it's because Mike went away for 2 years, and then he went away from another 3 years, Skip. So we feel we were robbed of 5 years of Michael Jordan we should have saw. Magic Johnson had the situation with the AIDS diagnosis. We felt that we were robbed. We were shortchanged. We didn't feel Kobe shortchanged us. Kobe gave us 20. And think about it, Skip. From the torn labrum to the dislocated shoulder to the ruptured Achilles. We knew, Kobe knew. He said, I just don't want to play basketball anymore. I just don't want to put that kind of time into it anymore. And when you hear all the time, I'm retired to be with my family.
Right.
He meant it.
He did.
He meant it.
And he backed it up.
He backed it up. You see, man, Skip, every time they show that clip of him and his daughter at home in the gym, and she put the move on him that he made so famous, where she shoved him with the shoulder and stepped back and busted him in his eyes with the J. and see him sitting on court side of the game, and he has his arm around her, and he's explaining to her, and she's so enthralled. She doesn't look at him. That's my dad. My dad is talking basketball with me, not Kobe Bryant. My dad is talking hoop with me. I got the greatest basketball coach in the world. Man, Skip, it breaks my heart every time I think about it. And to know that Vanessa, like my husband, my father, my strength, my rock, my stability, my baby girl, gone. And then 7 others also perished. Another family, a husband, wife, and a daughter, Skip, perished in that crash. Man, it's so sad. It is so sad. I still, and it's true. No other way. We know everything has been confirmed now. But it still doesn't seem real. No. Kobe ain't supposed to die. Some people we think don't live forever. We know it's gonna happen. It speaks of it. You gotta leave here. But Kobe's not Kobe. Some people we think they're supposed to live like it'll be 100 and then just go to sleep and don't wake up. Kobe's not supposed to die like this. Not Kobe.
Glad you brought up Magic, because last night it hit me that this was hitting me the hardest anything in sports has since Magic's AIDS announcement in the fall of 1991.
Correct.
And it rocked me. I did not see that coming. And of course, at that moment of that announcement, because we didn't know enough about AIDS yet,
right,
I thought Magic was a goner.
Right.
Didn't we all think that?
Yeah. And for the most part, you were.
Did.
You got that diagnosis, you were in a couple of years, you were dead.
Death sentence.
Yeah.
Fortunately, Magic not only survived, but thrived.
Correct.
And yet, the Kobe I watched not just try to beat Michael Jordan at age 18, he tried to be or become Michael Jordan. Mm-hmm. That guy who came in wagging his tongue like Mike, trying to walk that pigeon-toed gait like Mike, trying to shoot that sort of hanging fadeaway that Mike perfected, and actually began to speak like Mike. I would hear clips and I'd think, was that Jordan talking? And it was Kobe imitating Jordan, the cadence, the pattern, the sort of the Carolina little dialect in there. And I'd say, what is he doing? Well, he's saying with audacity, I can be better than he is.
Right.
And we could debate all day whether that ever happened, but the point was that once he let go of basketball and embraced a second career, he began to out-Jordan in his second career. Mm-hmm. Michael has struggled. I'm the biggest fan on the planet, but he has struggled as the architect of the Charlotte franchise. He's just struggled. And they're struggling again this year. Mm-hmm. It's been a hard road for him in that regard. And everything Kobe chose, second career, so to speak, Midas touch, turned to gold because he made it happen. Yep. He was working at it as hard as he did at his basketball. And all of a sudden, he's a Hollywood mogul. He's got an investment fund and a multimedia production company. And he wins an Academy Award off a poem that he wrote when he retired, Dear Basketball.
Yep.
And they turned it into an animated short.
Correct.
And it won the Academy Award right out of the box. He's got that. And that guy looked so happy to me, and his face sort of relaxed and filled out. He looked like a leading man. He became a movie star to me post-career of that magnitude. Not that he was starring in movies, but he carried himself like a great movie star who could take over any room in the world. And then he became like a global evangelist for basketball, preaching and teaching the greatness of striving to become a great basketball player.
Most people, Skip, don't go to Hollywood at 38, 39 and become
say, watch this, like that.
And watch this happen, either in front or behind the camera.
Sure. Can't do it. And that's why this is still rocking me. And I know we all have our faith and we try to put it in some perspective and make peace with it. The man upstairs has a plan. Right now, it's hard to see what the plan is. But it rocked me because I told Shannon to start the show, this passing was for me like Michael Jackson is gone at 50, Prince is gone at 57. If I can hark back to Elvis is gone at 42. Mm-hmm. Kobe's gone at 41. Yet in each of those three cases I just mentioned, there was some self-destruction along the path.
Right.
And this was just straight, inexplicable, unthinkable tragedy.
Right.
Where you can't fathom what a wife is going through with the sudden, impossible loss of the husband and daughter that were gone in a heartbeat.
Right.
And again, the biggest cliche in life is tomorrow's not promised. It's also the truest cliche in life because we just got slapped between the eyes with that fact. Life is fragile, and you just have to embrace your moments, live it and love it, because if Kobe can go, any of us could go like that.
Right. You know, and look, I think the NBA will handle this the right way. You know, they do great with these things.
I thought they did great yesterday with the 24-second violations.
All of that stuff, MSG with the tribute. I won't be critical of them if they don't do this. In my opinion, I think they should retire number 8 and 24 throughout the league. Like the MLB. They retired 42. And obviously that was for different reasons with Jackie Robinson. But here's the thing.
Didn't Dallas already say that?
Dallas, Mark Cuban with Dallas.
He did.
We had no NBA superstar has ever passed this early. Nick Wright was saying it on First Things First. Only 2 of the MVP winners are passed away, Moses Malone and Wilt Chamberlain. And they were in their 60s when, I think Moses was 60 when it happened. So, you know, a little more natural at that age. Right. This is unprecedented in the NBA. You know, we haven't seen one of the all-time greats go this early. I think that's an appropriate way to honor him. I really believe they should.
Skip and I was talking, and I think I'm older than you, Chris, and we might be the same age. Roberto Clemente.
Right.
When he died tragically in a plane crash, delivering goods to his native, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Sr.
That was Nicaragua. He's Puerto Rican.
Puerto Rican, you were delivering aid.
Yeah, and he took a huge risk and he lost his life.
Dale Earnhardt Sr.
Yes.
But he was racing. Not like this. Yeah, I mean, this is, maybe you got to go back, Skip, and you take it outside of sports. Like Sam Cooke, dying tragically. That means Skip, this is not supposed to, like I said, this is Kobe. So like our heroes, Skip, we think they're invincible. They don't die. Kobe's not supposed, at 41? And then you like, and I'm looking, I'm like, man, I was telling Skip, I had just DM'd him a month ago. He hit me right back instantly. You know, we carried on the conversation. The very first time I met him, Skip, he was actually in, I think it was my last year, second to last year in Denver. They played the Nuggets. As a security guard, like, oh, he knew who I was. He let me go in the locker room. I walk over there and start carrying up a conversation. I was like, hey, bro, let your boy get them shoes. He like, chuck him off his feet, signed him, gave him right to me, Skip.
You're always asking for shoes.
That's no shit.
I mean, closed mouth don't get fed. He was going to give him to somebody. He might as well give him the whole shake. But Skip, he was just, like I said, you know, he had the Mamba mentality. Right. He was cold-hearted because we know what a black Mamba does. He's very venomous, but that snake will attack without provocation. Kobe didn't need you to be his enemy to drop 50 on you. Because he hung 55, he hung 55 on Jordan and said, take that with you in retirement. That was his mindset. But off the court, he was warm. He made you feel like, you know, like Magic. Magic has that kind of quality. Man, he been knowing you. Magic, you just met me. You got your arm around me talking about you. You good to see you again. Man, that's how Kobe, man. Kobe was like that. I mean, I just can't believe it. I just cannot believe it.
So Kobe took pieces of our heart with him because we all participated in his growing up.
Yes.
We watched it closely because we were all growing up or trying to at the same time.
Correct.
And there were growing pains. Phil Jackson ripped Kobe Bryant in 2 different books, but in 2004, and called him uncoachable and that he'd never be the leader Jordan was.
Right.
And then we had the Eagle, Colorado incident. And then we started having Shaq versus Kobe ego clashes that led to Shaq exiting. And all of a sudden, it's like, Kobe, you're on. The stage is yours. And do you remember how long it took? Do you remember they immediately missed the playoffs the next year.
Right.
And then came a 7-game series with Phoenix that ended with a Game 7 in Phoenix in which Kobe took 3 shots in the second half, scored 1 point with 1 rebound. And everybody called it the Kobe, like a Kobe pout game, right?
Yeah, you think I shoot too much?
People were complaining.
You think I'm
shooting too much? Watch this.
Yeah,
watch this one. Then the next year, first round exit again to the Phoenix Suns. And then the 4th year, they got to the finals and lost to the Celtics in 6. And Kobe didn't have the greatest finals that year. And then it happened. He and Phil somehow sort of made peace with each other. And Phil became the biggest Kobe fan, as he displayed again last night in his statements that he issued. And all of a sudden, they beat the Magic in the finals, and they got revenge over the Celtics. And I saw Kobe just grow up.
Yeah.
He became a man right before your very eyes.
And we see that a lot, Chris, you know, in our community. Man, I remember that boy, he was there. I remember that boy was like that.
That's real.
That's Kobe.
Yep.
I remember when Kobe, 17 years of age, turned into what he turned. Man, it's
I saw it because earlier in his career, he was a little bit socially awkward, aloof, a little bit with the media.
Yep.
And you could just see maybe midway through his career, he began getting more and more comfortable. He grew up like all of us were, more comfortable in our own skin at 30 than we were at 18. And we saw that, in the grand stage. And for all his toughness and hard-nosedness and competitiveness and all that, he forgave Phil Jackson for ripping him in that book, and then came back and played for him.
He forgave him.
Because Phil left too.
He did.
Phil left and came back.
And he forgave him. And then even, we know Kobe always wanted to be the best. He was like Jordan. I want to win, but I want to be the reason we win.
Sure. Right.
But in 2008 with the Dream Team, he took a back seat. He said, I'm going to be the defender. LeBron, Wade, I'll be the defender. And then when they needed him against, was it Spain? That's when he took over. And so he was, as you said,
And even in the end, last couple of years, it was hard to watch because Kobe's body began to betray him, and there'd be flashes of anger that he would display. So I was so relieved when he went out the right way and started to become second career Kobe. Until yesterday, it ended so abruptly that none of us are ready to accept it had to end that way.
And I think the fact that it happened, 12 hours or so after LeBron had passed him and Kobe was in the spotlight again, made it just even harder to take.
The image of LeBron returning home and tears in his eyes and the emotion. If you asked everyone sitting in this audience, I bet they all have a Kobe story of how he impacted, because he touched so many.
No mercy.
And welcome back to Undisputed. We are live from South Beach, part of Super Bowl week on FS1, as we are continuing to look back at the amazing career of Kobe Bryant. The 18-time All-Star, won 5 titles and had countless big-time moments on the court. He won the dunk contest his rookie season, had a career-high 81 points in a game, and also had a 4-game streak of 50-plus points, to name just a few of those moments. So, Chris, I'd like to start with you. What will you remember most about Kobe as a player?
I'm going to bring up a memory that I think a lot of people overlook, and it's the 2000 finals against Indiana. Game 4, Kobe's in his 4th year. He had an ankle injury, so he missed all of Game 3, played like 8 minutes in Game 2, only scored 2 points. So they're playing Indiana. It's a tight game, 1-possession game, and Shaq fouls out with about 3 minutes left. Kobe, on the bad ankle, hits 3 big buckets at the end of the game to lead them to victory. I think he had 26 points that game, and they won. That made it 3-1. Basically, the series was over. I think that's where he cemented his legacy as a closer, as a clutch guy. Because even, he missed a lot of closing shots at the end of games too after that. But doing that as a 21-year-old, just 21 years old, and Shaq's gone, cemented him as a closer. So that's one of my greatest memories of him on the court. And then the second one is, you could talk about the 81, but 60 points in his last game on 50 shots. Like, that was totally Kobe. That was pure Kobe to take 50 shots and score 60 points on his way out. He hadn't even scored 40 points that season in any one game. And so to go out and do it at 37 years old in a win, Those are the things I remember about Kobe on the court.
81 points. Yeah. I saw, look, he's a 5-time champion. He was a great, he could lock it down on both ends. 9-time first-team all-defensive player. Maybe there's a time or two in there he probably should have won Defensive Player of the Year. But he's as good as they got on the perimeter guarding. But what we see James Harden did, Kobe did that a decade ago. Kobe had stretches like, we've never seen anything like it, where he had 62 and 3/4 against Dallas.
He did.
The same season he had that 8.
That's right there with 81 to me. 62 and 3.
Because he could have got there.
Yeah.
And he probably thought about it, but he said, why did you go? There'll be other times. What you mean there'll be other times? You're going to get 60. You're like, that's a 30-point game. But Skip, I mean, the ease in which he could score the basketball. He developed that fadeaway. He always had the quickness to be able to put the ball on the floor and get to the bucket, finish over the top of you, finish with either hand, could shoot, great free throw shooter. And then the clutch, I mean, you tear your Achilles. I know if I tear my Achilles, get me to the dressing room. I ain't trying to shoot no shot. I ain't trying to wave at no crowd. You get me in there because I'm hurting. What Kobe do? Go to the free throw line, knock them both down, walk off the court. That's his mentality. He was clutch. I mean, all these young kids, they hollering Kobe now.
Right.
When they pull up with a jumper, that's Kobe. So, Skip, I mean, that's it. I mean, he got a legacy that he shouldn't feel, look, that's what we do. Shows like this, what we do. We compare. Jordan, Kobe, LeBron, this one and that one. But Kobe's resume stacks up favorable against anybody. He don't have anything. With 5 championships, twice an Finals MVP, the All-Star game, the All-Star Games MVP, Kobe Bryant ain't got nothing. Shouldn't have to take a back seat to anyone.
By the way, it was just mentioned, and I'd forgotten, Kobe did win the dunk contest his rookie year.
I think it was second year.
Second year.
Yep.
Rookie season,
In Cleveland, of all places. Interesting. And I was just trying to remember, did LeBron ever do the dunk contest? I just wondered.
There you go. You see what I'm saying? What LeBron got to do with this?
Wait, I can't. No, I don't think LeBron ever did the dunk contest. I was just wondering. Because I forget those things.
Yeah, you forgot.
So, people do know I'm a longtime Spurs fan. And from my heart, in all those big early Lakers-Spurs clashes going back to the early start of this century, 2000, 2001, remember the .6 shot that got hit? Derek Fisher at San Antonio. In all those games, from my heart, the guy who scared me to death was always Kobe and not Shaq. I've often called Shaq the greatest offensive force I've ever seen for those 3 years. He used to just ragdoll Tim Duncan and David Robinson. He just toss them out of the way and dunk over both of them. And they just destroyed San Antonio in the Western Conference Finals in, was it 2001, I believe it was? Just destruction.
Yes, they swept them.
Yeah, swept them. But the guy I feared, the guy who shot the most daggers, was always Kobe. And he was just still a kid to me. But speaking of kid, these are my 2 favorite memories because they connect over 19 years. I will never forget Kobe Bryant at age 18 in a closeout playoff game against Utah, his rookie year. I even wrote down the date of it. It was May the 12th of 1997. They eventually lost the game 98-93. This kid, trying to step into the shoes that were once filled by Magic and Kareem and Worthy, goes 0 for 6 from 3 and shoots 4 flat-out air balls that didn't even come close to touching anything but air. And I watched it, and I was in awe of just how bad he was, but the gumption it took, he just kept firing because that's who he was. And how many kids, Chris, how many of you covered in all your years covering the league, all my years covering the league, would have been wrecked psychologically by that, where it would have
Nick
taken
Anderson,
them.
the free throws.
That's true. And you never quite recover. It just drove this kid to become that guy.
Right.
And he worked harder and harder. I always called Jordan, in the years I covered him in Chicago, supremely talented overachiever. And Kobe became, in the mold of Michael, just that. Nobody worked harder off the court through the offseason than Kobe, Michael. Right. Tiger does that in golf, or did that all through his glory years. And yet, it came full circle, 19 years to your memory of they played Utah again in his last, so to speak, closeout game. And he scores 60. And when it ends, he literally drops the mic. Well, he laid it down on the floor after saying, Mamba out. Mamba out. Well, is that not a Hollywood ending?
Right.
How can you do that? That's impossible to go from that kid from Lower Merion High School who shoots 4 air balls with the game on the line. 2 of them came in the last 30 seconds. What? And yet, Shannon has made the point. They were just saying, shoot it. You're that guy. You believe you're that guy. Jerry West picked him because he thought he was that guy.
Yep.
And he was going to become that despite that disaster of a night against Utah.
I tell you what, too, you know, obviously we're always debating who's the GOAT. And it's usually LeBron and Jordan. Most current players that I've talked to and ex-players that played against both of them, LeBron and Kobe, they always, almost to a man, y'all got to put Kobe in that conversation.
Okay. Yeah.
Why isn't Kobe in like ex-player, and a good number of ex-players have Kobe ahead of LeBron because of the killer instinct, precisely because of that. I think another thing, you mentioned the 5 titles. We shouldn't just gloss over that like, that's simple. I mean, that's why we say Jordan's the GOAT. He had 6, but 5 titles is a ton. Like LeBron is one of the greatest we've ever seen. He's got 3 in 16 years, full years. Durant's got 2. Who knows when we'll see somebody win as the best player or second best player on the team 5 titles again. So that's huge. And I also got to say this too. Kobe, nobody talks about this with him. He was one of the greatest game dunkers of all time. And people overlook that. He had one where he went behind the back on a break.
It went up underneath.
And it was like a 360 on somebody in transition. I was in the Garden when I don't remember how many points he had, but he's playing the Knicks. And we remember Dr. J's great iconic move where he went from one side of the paint to the other and laid it in. Kobe did that and dunked it against the Knicks. So, I mean, we don't talk about him as one of the great dunkers, but he really was in games.
And Phil, in his first book, ripped Kobe as a defensive player, saying he wasn't really locked down, he roamed and disrupted. But then in Phil's second book, he acknowledged that Kobe was a game-changing defender. Again, 12 times all defensive team. That's what I'm saying. 9 times first team. But Phil said he could change the game on defense by picking his spot to pick your pocket.
Yep.
Yeah.
But he was tremendous on ball.
Yeah.
I mean, because you know he could go get 50, 60. But if your guy was possibly get 40 or 30, he could shut him down.
That's why I think that's why they have Kobe ranked so high. Because you know, as ex-athletes, when you hate playing somebody that's just going to be all up in your chest on both sides of the ball. When they have the ball, they're going to try to take it to your throat. And when they're guarding you, they're all over you. Like, that was hard. Kobe Bryant, man.
And normally guys that can score like that, Skip, they don't put them on other guys that can score. They let them reserve their energy. There's a reason why Pat Bev can lock up. They ain't asking Pat Bev to go give you 35. But imagine Kobe and Jordan and these guys that they ask. Kawhi, go lock him down. But we need that 30 now. Don't skip me on my 30. Don't Sharpe me on that now. I still need them.
Kobe was the definition of a competitor when you think about watching him. And that is the image that I'm going to be holding close to me today. Chris, thank you for being here. We appreciate your time.
No mercy.
And welcome back to Undisputed. We are live from Miami as the sports world continues to mourn the loss of Kobe Bryant, who was killed in a helicopter crash along with his daughter Gianna and 7 others. Kobe's impact went much farther than basketball, as we all know. And in his Hall of Fame speech, Terrell Owens said, quote, "Kobe Bryant, thanks for showing me what passion and love for your craft looks like. I admired you from afar. You set the standard for hard work and dedication. It was amazing to watch." And Terrell Owens is joining us this morning. So good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
Your reaction, Terrell, when you heard the devastating news of Kobe's passing?
You said it, just devastating. My day just came to a complete halt. Found myself just staring off into space. I had a few people call me. One of my best friends called me and just said Kobe, and I didn't know what he was talking about. So we have a podcast, and so I'm like, yeah, he's on my list. And I checked my messages again. I had another message, and he goes, yo, you didn't hear? And so I just was dumbfounded. You know, when it sat in the car for about an hour, I didn't even know I was sitting in the car an hour because it hit me like a ton of bricks, like everybody else.
Go deeper into what he meant to you and inspiration.
Just his relentless pursuit of greatness. You know, I'm a Hall of Famer sitting here today, but when I started out, I had no ambition to play beyond the collegiate level. My love has always been for basketball. When you talk about the top 3 or basketballs in the world, Kobe's in my top 2. You got Michael Jordan and you got Kobe Bryant. He's probably the best clone we've ever seen.
Closest, yeah.
The closest clone we've ever seen to Michael Jordan we've ever seen. And so I met him in, I think, 99. Merton Hanks, I was with the Niners, took me to a game at the Forum. And I took a picture with him, and we've been friends ever since.
How was he to you in 99?
Same as he was when I saw him just a year or so ago. His daughter plays, Natalia, his oldest daughter, plays at Sage Hill volleyball, and my daughter was a freshman, and they played against each other. And so I sat in the stands and we talked a little bit about our daughters. And I think everybody has seen and spoke at volumes at what he's tried to do off the field and post-football with his family, being the best dad he could be for his kid, you know, being removed with basketball so much. And so we talked about that. We talked about, you know, he does the details for ESPN. He talked about bringing me on, probably getting my perspective about, you know, from a receiver standpoint. Those are some of the things that we talked about and we shared.
Teal, you mentioned you're in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, so am I, and you talk about Kobe, you talk about the passion in which you played with, but you also understand that, yeah, you can have passion, but you have to have talent. You got to put work in. You know the work that it goes in for practice and the way you take care of your body and the way you eat and the way you prepare and in game. Speak to that and what Kobe and what you saw from Kobe on a nightly basis.
I mean, I created a clothing line, and part of my clothing is desire, dedication, and discipline. When you talk about that relentless pursuit of greatness, that's what Kobe was. You've heard all the stories of him getting up at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning. I wasn't that anal. I wanted to be great, but like I said, he wanted to be the best version of himself outside of Michael Jordan.
Right.
He had that blueprint. When you talk about dedication, when you talk about that desire, you talk about discipline, he embodies all of that. I think everybody knows the competitor that he was. It showed on a nightly basis.
Right.
When you talk about the greatest to ever play the game, and there's always this debate, you know, between LeBron and Kobe and Michael Jordan. When you talk about Michael Jordan and Kobe, it's almost identical.
Right.
That's what separates those two from anybody else, because they had that night in and night out. It wasn't like you see guys today, it's almost like a celebrity game.
Right.
During the course of the game, they see fans, they're interacting. You never saw that with Michael. You never saw that with Kobe.
So I hear kids today talk about, I work hard. I am sitting across from 2 guys who worked extremely, excessively hard to become who they were. You were a 7th round draft choice, and you were help me out, third round, but nobody, I wasn't sure you'd go that high. The 49ers saw something a lot of teams didn't, and blessed you and said, it's George Stewart was your receiver coach, and just said, you can be this guy, but you're going to have to work at it. And I was around you enough in San Francisco, excessive, extreme practice habits. And it's hard to translate this, but I was around Jordan a lot and not so much Kobe, but I heard about him from so many people. The work ethic is almost indescribable, because I always called Jordan, along with Kobe, they were extremely talented overachievers. They had gifts that maybe you two, I don't know, you had both of you had gifts, but again, your gifts weren't seen for a while. Right. You had to make them happen at the highest level with extreme dedication. That's hard for kids today, I think, to comprehend. It's every day, relentlessly, and I've watched both of you enough to know, I think it's like a spillover effect. The Jordan, Kobe, they set a tone that your era followed in inspiration.
Yeah, I think for me, as I said, I never thought I would play beyond the collegiate level. And I had to become who I became. And, you know, I didn't have any football heroes. Before I met Jerry or Steve Young, any of the Niners, Michael Jordan was that barometer of success that I wanted to reach, whether it was in basketball or whatever it was that I encountered. So for me, I just wanted to be the best that I could be. And I had a lot of guys, especially coaches, that encouraged me along the way. You mentioned George Stewart, but before George Stewart, there was Larry Kirksey, who coached Jerry Rice, the greatest of all time. And so these guys, as you said, they saw something in me when they drafted me. I was looked at as the prototype around that time when late 90s, that was when you had the tall, lanky, long receivers with speed or what have you, hands.
Run out for catch.
Yeah, exactly.
In the West Coast, that's what you needed.
Exactly. And so I embodied what I was taught, the tradition of what the West Coast offense was about. Quick passes, short, taking it the distance. There had to be a lot of refining with my skills early on before I became T.O., before I became that guy that, and in some ways you look at, and we talk about Kobe, I've been a game changer. You talk about Michael Jordan. Before I could even see myself in that realm or speak on that, there was a lot of refining to my skill set to where, like I said, I felt like I was a game changer in a number of ways.
For me, and maybe you can relate to this also, I felt coming out as a 7th round pick, there was no expectations. So I got a chance to grow. You leave high school and go straight to the NBA, you better be that. Because you said you were better than Michael Jordan, so you came in. Michael Jordan was the 3rd overall pick, Skip, so he hit the shot. So there was expectations. You go high in the draft, there's expectations. T.O., you being a 3rd round, me being a 7th round pick, the 192nd pick overall, there was no expectations other than what I had on myself, but there was no external pressure on me. So I got an opportunity to sit back in the background. There was some, because I was Sterling's little brother. Well, he was an all-pro, thought of as one of the best receivers in the game, Skip. So people had that, well, if his brother could do that, that's his brother, he should be able to do it also. But when you talk about Kobe, but the thing is, Skip, is that the easiest thing I tell guys all the time to come into the NFL, the easiest thing you'll ever do is make the Pro Bowl, but make it again when they know what you can do. When they know you for real legit, and D coordinators go into the game and say, hey, we can't let 81 beat us. We can't let 84 beat us. Then can you do it again? Because we've seen a lot of guys be good once, but can you be good over and over? That's why you got to give the kudos to Brady. Because year after year, he's Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Kobe. You know what Kobe was. You don't think they tried to get the ball out of Kobe's hand? You didn't think they tried to get the ball out of Jordan's hand? But to do it over and over. To become great, I'm a firm believer in this. The greater the player, the more selfish the player has to be, because you have to be willing to sacrifice a lot, because you're going to spend a lot of time alone with your own thoughts, training alone, doing things alone. You're going to miss a lot of things that a lot of people not willing to do.
Yep.
But you look at the great players, and every last one of them will tell you they've been selfish.
So, Terrell, I always thought from the start, in your heart of hearts, if you could have snapped your fingers, you would have preferred to be Kobe Bryant instead of Jerry Rice. In your heart of hearts, it would have made you happier to be that guy in basketball than this guy in football.
Absolutely. I mean, basketball was my first love. Anybody that knows me, that's my passion.
And because both of you played what we call a dependent position, where you cannot dictate whether the ball is coming to you or not.
Right.
It might or it might not. It might not be your fault it doesn't come to you for whatever reason. The quarterback doesn't see you.
Right.
You're getting triple covered or whatever. And so you're going to go through games where I didn't get the football in my hands. Well, Kobe... He's going to get the rock, right?
Yeah, that's the thing about a basketball player. You can dictate what you do with the basketball because you have it at, going up and down the court at will. For me, I felt like I was a basketball player playing football. And so the light bulb came on for me when my coach, and that's just a sign of a good coach. Coach Kirksey, I was struggling. You know, I didn't play a lot of Division I school, so like I said, I had a lot of refining, to do with my skills. So it was tough every day, training camp, season, going against bump and run, one-on-one. And so he pulled me to the side because I was struggling. And he pulled me, he said, "Don't you like basketball?" He said, "Do you consider yourself a basketball player?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "I see you struggling." He said, "Treat the defender like you're playing one-on-one to get buy-in." And when he said that, the light bulb clicked, and T.O. came.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so. We are going to continue to honor the life of Kobe all day and celebrate his career as we process what happened. We're so glad you're here, Terrell, to talk about him.
No mercy.
And last week, Donovan McNabb said that he thinks Terrell Owens is responsible for the Eagles not reaching their full potential in the early 2000s. Just months after losing to the Patriots in Super Bowl 39, some things that Terrell did, like the driveway sit-ups and ordering pizza for reporters, were things that McNabb alluded to. So, Terrell, you're still with us. How surprised were you that this just came out of the blue like that?
Yeah, I'm very much so surprised. I mean, 15, 16 years later? Honestly, I mean, there was a time and a place, and for me, I mean, in respect to Kobe, today is just not that day.
Sure.
I can address it, at another time. I'll come back on for sure. Or I can get you guys on my podcast, one or both of you guys, and we can talk about it. But, out of respect for Kobe, like today, I'm not feeling it. Today is not that day.
Yeah.
I hear you. I think we all got reminded harshly yesterday to love and live every moment because the next one's not promised. And yet, as you know, we've gone back and forth about this for years. I've had many talks with Donovan about it, with Hugh Douglas, with Brian Dawkins, and maybe this is a day of letting go those kind of bitternesses that do us no good going forward. But I do think, knowing Donovan the way I do, he needed to let this go. He just sort of unleashed it all, like just spilled it all out. And maybe after what happened, the shock of yesterday, maybe that's it. Maybe it's done. Maybe you can all put it to rest.
I mean, like I said, I don't have anything against him. At the end of the day, like I said, it is what it is. I did what I did, considering and under those circumstances in Philadelphia. I enjoyed my time there. I did the best that I could. They brought me there to help, get them beyond the 4 NFC championships they had failed to get past. And, I think when you talk about the swagger and my playmaking ability, in which Andy utilized to the best of my abilities. And
Andy Reid? Yep.
Yeah, Andy Reid, yes.
Yep.
I did that, I can't fight a man's jealousy, envy, whatever the case may be. There was a lot of things that happened throughout the course of that year, speculative-wise, and there were people that were bringing things to me unbeknownst. But like I said, I was blown away. I was shocked at some of the things that were being said and his reactions to a lot of things. When you talk about me coming from the San Francisco 49ers, playing there, and they brought me there. I felt a little bit of pressure. They brought me there to get them over the hump.
Oh,
and
it
so,
was huge.
And so, for that city to embrace me the way that they did, and I embraced them as well. And so, from the first snap, first play that was thrown to me, it went for 81 yards. Right on the jersey number. You know what I mean? So that kind of set the tone for the season.
Right.
I was brought there for a reason, and I felt like I tried to do whatever I could, and unfortunately I got hurt. Later on in that season, I played in the Super Bowl with 2 screws and a plate in my ankle, and there were a lot of things that, again, that was brought to my attention of how he changed, towards me. When you talk about the Lincoln Financial Stadium and 70,000+ people chanting your name, when I guess he got drafted there, they booed him. He wasn't well received, and so it's like I'm an outsider coming in, and I'm getting that love and that recognition, that embrace that I'm sure he wanted. I'm sure he probably took, a little bit of offense to it and felt a bit slighted. but I can't be the blame. I can't be the scapegoat for what did or didn't happen. You know, going into that playoff run for the Super Bowl, you know, he got annoyed by the many questions.
Right.
Was I going to play? Was Terrell going to play? And he made some discouraging, you know, comments. You know, we got here without him. You know, we can win without him. And, you know. And
how did that make you feel?
For a guy that always have been politically correct and addressed certain questions like that in the best possible way, he didn't do that with me. So I knew it was personal. But I did what I could, you know, considering the circumstances.
I'm sorry. Have you seen Donovan since those days at all?
Yeah, I've seen him, and I played in softball game. Larry Fitzgerald has a softball game, and we've run into each other.
So you thought you was cool prior to him making this comment?
Yeah.
You thought you were cool?
Absolutely. I mean, it was cordial. When you talk about burying the hatchet or what have you and letting bygones be bygones, I had run into him a couple of times and spoken, and it was cordial, and I left it at that. But to get this out of left field, it's a bit disappointing, especially from a guy like that.
See, when I look at it, and Skip and I talked about this a little bit last week, is that teams bring you in to help get them over the hump. And the moment it doesn't happen, well, the reason why we didn't get over the hump because of T.O. Well, then why'd you bring him there?
Well,
you get scapegoated when things go wrong, but you're supposed to be the savior when things aren't going right. So I'm confused.
And I am too. And the fact that they said that they didn't need me, then how did I prevent them from getting back to the Super Bowl? If that's the case, if you're so good and you're confident in the guys around me, you didn't need me to get back to the Super Bowl, if that's the case.
Clearly did.
So I'm with Terrell. Yeah, well said. I'm with Terrell. Today is not the day. And yet, you just mentioned you played for Andy Reid, and we just talked about you played for the San Francisco 49ers. So there is a football game that is going to be played this coming Sunday, and you are leaning which way?
I mean, my heart's in San Francisco. That's why I had, you know, the start of my career. I'm blessed and thankful for the opportunity to start my career there. I did some great things in 8 years. And then I transitioned. I go to Philadelphia Eagles. I played a year and 7 games there and was playing at a pretty high level. And Andy Reid utilized me like I wanted to be utilized in San Francisco. When you talk about, you know, playing 21 games and scoring 20 touchdowns, I was scoring at a clip that's unheard of. And so I welcomed the opportunity to play with a quarterback like Donovan, that pocket passer, able to throw every pass in the passing tree. And the quarterback styles was a bit different. Going from Jeff Garcia, which is a out of the pocket, you know, type of player, can, you know, do some things on the run. He wasn't your prototypical quarterback standing in the pocket, throw the ball 50, 60 yards down the field. And I got an eye-opener in training camp, going to Lehigh Stadium. It's about 10,000 people. That was the impact that I had coming to Philadelphia. And, you know, I ran my first go route. You know, my body is so accustomed to running go routes for Jeff Garcia. So I would, you know, kind of three-quarter it with Jeff Garcia, and I could see him throw it, and if he threw it farther, I could go get it. I tried that with Donovan. I almost tore my hamstring. I went back to the huddle, and my coach, David Culley, he said, look, he said, I know what you've been used to. You ain't got to worry about that with 5. He has a hose.
He has a hose. So describe the Andy Reid that we're going to see on Sunday. How is he? How did he coach you? What is he like to play for?
I think you've seen it with Patrick Mahomes, and before Patrick Mahomes became Patrick Mahomes, you saw it with Tyreek Evans. It's like Tyreek Hill with those receivers. Sammy Watkins using a tight end. It's kind of eerie similar to when I was there with the Eagles. We had L.J. Smith, we had Chad Lewis. We had receivers on the outside, Todd Pinkston, myself, Freddie Mitchell. He's going to do
Don't mention them other guys here. Well, I know you're being politically correct, but don't do that.
And myself. And so he basically utilized those guys, and I texted Andy Reid and wished him congratulations, and he hit me back, and he was saying, his response was, I'm hoping one of my guys can have the day that you had in Jacksonville. And so he's going to, trust me, he's going to have a game plan. Those guys are going to be ready. And trust me, I know Andy Reid. He's going to be very, very prepared for this.
It's hard not to like Red, isn't it?
Oh my God! Trust me. He's my favorite coach that I've ever played for.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I know I played with a number of coaches, George Seifert, who obviously is a great Hall of Fame coach. I didn't get to play the tenure of my career. I only played 1 year with George Seifert. But when you talk about a cerebral mind, you're talking about a coach, like I said, that's all I ever wanted, was to be utilized to the best of my abilities. Mm-hmm. And I knew, looking back on it, some frustration set in, and I had to make do with what I had.
Right.
And so the different quarterbacks that obviously factored in, like you said, there's a dependency. I can only do what my quarterback does. You know what I mean? And so with Andy Reid, like I said, the best coach that I ever played for.
These are my brother's OC in Green Bay, and my brother loves Andy. Yeah. All those guys, Andy Reid, Gruden, Mariucci, all those guys were on that staff over in Green Bay.
So your heart's in San Francisco, but now I think your heart and your head is saying Kansas City.
I think whichever outcome, I'm going to be happy. I mean, if the Niners win, I'm going to be ecstatic about it. If Andy Reid gets the win, I'm going to be ecstatic about it, because I felt like, had I not been hurt, had I been 100% when we played the Patriots in Super Bowl 39, I think we may have a different outcome.
Right.
Wow.
So allow me to say, you've been great today.
Thank
you so much.
Really good.
Appreciate it.
Thank
My
you.
mom will be proud of me.
So moving forward today, we're going to put all that pettiness aside. Yep. You and Donovan, we good. We good, right?
We got to come on the podcast, though. You got to
mention the podcast.
I told you, we're gonna put it the rest of the day.
Okay.
I do want to make sure everyone here knows the podcast. Get your popcorn ready with Tio and Hatch, so everyone check it out. And Tio, thank you again for being here. It really was a pleasure to have you.
No mercy.
Welcome back to Undisputed. It is Super Bowl week. We are live in Miami with a lovely audience today. Thank you guys for joining us. We so appreciate the energy and the excitement as we prepare for the Super Bowl. Let's talk about Shannon's guy. It took Patrick Mahomes only 4 postseason games to become the franchise leader in career postseason passing touchdowns. And last week, Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy spoke about the offense with Mahomes, saying, quote, "Every play is designed to score a touchdown. He never says he doesn't like a play." So Shannon, do you like that he said this?
Love it.
Oh, really? Surprise, surprise.
Yes, love it.
Surprise. Loves it.
Hey, Jenny, you said how many games? Say it take him this many games to become the all-time leader.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was 4 postseason games.
This.
Would you like me to say it again?
Is that how many Super Bowls he's won?
When it's all said and done, it might be about 6 or 7. Ain't no telling.
Let's see about that.
Look, I don't have a problem with it, Skip, because I understand it's a mindset. That's what Mamba mentality is. Was Kobe Bryant really a black Mamba? Was he really out there striking people? No. It was the mindset that he had. So Eric Bieniemy says that when we diagram a play, our goal is to hit our heads on the goalpost. And we have a quarterback that can make any throw on the field, Skip. He can throw the ball over your head. He can throw the ball with accuracy from in or out of the pocket. And he has guys, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Sammy Watkins, Mecole Hardman. We've never seen a group like this led by a guy like that. So, yes, absolutely. And, Skip, look, they're saying, look, Mahomes, just get the ball in the guy's hands. Mm-hmm. They create a mismatch. They create space. And I'm going to be surprised. Look, I'm taking it over. I'm just telling you right now, whatever the line is, if it's 55, I'm going over because I believe it's going to be over. I believe both teams will be in the, I'm saying somebody's going to win this game by scoring at least 30. Somebody's going to be in the high 20s. I might even go higher than that. This has all the potential because in a game like this, Skip, look, you're going to have to settle in. And until you do, something bad might happen. A team can run off 14, 17 points in a game like this in the blink of an eye. Now, I hope it's back and forth. I'd like to see a 45-42 ball game. I wouldn't be disappointed. Let you know at the end of the week who I'm going to pick. But that being said, I don't have a problem because what do you think? Because what's the defense? We don't want to hit the quarterback on this play. So, every defensive play is designed to stop a touchdown and put as much pain as they possibly can on the quarterback. So, EB is right. We going for tubs.
I loved what Eric Bieniemy said because the 49ers will not like it. In all my years of covering professional football, I have never heard any coach say, every play we call is designed to score a touchdown because no coach has ever thought that. You know and I know. You played for the great Mike Shanahan, the unofficial head coach of the 49ers this week because his son Kyle is the official head coach.
Yep.
Mike Shanahan had routes that Shannon Sharpe ran to the sticks to get a first down.
Right.
And if it broke, but you don't plan on it breaking. You plan on it getting 3rd and 7 yards for a first down, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the height of Chiefs arrogance. And I think you'll start to see it tonight with their big extravaganza with the media tonight. On FS1.
We'll finally get somebody to say something, as opposed to the last couple of Super Bowls when one side says something, the other side says absolutely nothing.
Okay, well, I think
who you're talking about.
Kansas City Chiefs will dominate the coverage because I think Travis Kelce is going to say a lot, and Tyreek Hill is going to say a lot, and Frank Clark is going to say a whole lot.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And it's not what Patrick Mahomes says, it's the way he carries himself. He of the no-look passes.
I love it.
The sidearm passes. I don't know, in the Super Bowl, he'll probably try one behind the back or between the legs, right?
If I'm Mahomes, I'll come out there with a crown on my head.
Really?
The king is here.
That's confident.
Yeah, that's what I'll do.
Yeah, I would love that for his sake because I think the 49ers are simply the most physical team in all of pro football. Yes. And they are going to lay wood all over those little track team receivers and maybe on Patrick Mahomes himself, knocking the crown right off his head.
Okay, Bobby, this again. Do you believe Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in football?
In performance?
Is he the best quarterback of the quarterback that's currently playing in the NFL today? Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees included. Is Patrick Mahomes the best quarterback currently playing?
Lamar Jackson is going to run away with the MVP this year. Run away.
You see?
So no, he's not. And by the way, all season long, I sat across from you saying, Russell Wilson's the MVP. He's the MVP.
He was.
Nobody can do it the way Russell can do it. So no, Patrick Mahomes has not shown me he's the best quarterback in football.
Two things can be true. Lamar Jackson can run away with the MVP, and Patrick Mahomes can still be the best quarterback in football. Eric Bieniemy said, all these other nobody's ever said it because nobody's ever had Patrick Mahomes, boy. I got him. They didn't have him. Nobody's ever had a Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Sammy Watkins, Mecole Hardman. I got him. They didn't have him. So what we do is that we diagram plays is to hit head on goalpost. Now, Skip Bayless, now what?
Now the 49ers are the team that allowed the fewest 20-plus yard plays. Okay. Why was that? Because they have 5 guys across their front, all of them very high draft picks, who can get after the quarterback. And they do have this guy named Richard Sherman. I've had my issues with him over the years, but he is ranked the #1 corner in pro football this year by Pro Football Focus.
Deserving it so.
And he's,
but he got his work cut out for him this week.
Okay, but he's really good at what he does.
Very
and
good.
they've been really good at what they do in stopping 20-plus yard plays. So I saw the over-under on how far will the longest touchdown be? I think it was set at 45.5 yards. I got the under on
I'm going over.
Yeah? Who's going to score it? Mahomes on a scramble?
He might. Ain't no telling. He might pull a Lamar Jackson and go 60.
Really? Well, he runs like a 5-flat 40, so I don't think I'm just telling you what he is. He weighs 240 pounds.
Now, all of a sudden, you on the 49ers bandwagon.
I'm not on the bandwagon. I'm just not sold that Patrick Mahomes is that guy yet. You got to show me a little more than what? The Texans and the Titans at home? That's all you got?
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, he's a coin toss from probably going to the second Super Bowl because you believe, as I do, if they get the coin toss, they're going to beat the Patriots. They're D Ford lining up offside, an interception. They're D Ford offside from being in the Super Bowl last year. So let's not pretend like Patrick Mahomes, like all of a sudden just popped up out of nowhere. He was the reigning MVP last year, Skip.
Well, I'd like to remind everybody it was just a year ago. Tom Brady in overtime at Kansas City completed 3 straight 3rd and 10s. Never seen that before.
Oh, I saw Jimmy G. Well, we'll talk about Jimmy G a little later. But we'll talk about what he do in the Super Bowl. Because last 2 playoff games, everybody's seen Tom Brady. He got 0 touchdowns and 2 picks. And one of them was a pick 6. It should have had 3 because Logan dropped another one. So why you over there bumping your gums?
Who won last year's Super Bowl?
Hold on, what we talking about last year?
Last
year? Hold on, what was last year's? Last year's Super Bowl was in Atlanta. I was there. This year's Super Bowl was in Miami. Is your team here?
No, but my guy is probably going to wind up with the team that will be in the Super Bowl next year, and it will not be the New England Patriots.
You hope it. But he still won't be the best quarterback. The best quarterback in football, Skip, moving forward, is Patrick Mahomes. Now, at some point, the sooner you come, look, it'll be a lot easier on you if you just accept it and move along.
All I'm seeing so far is dangerous Super Bowl week arrogance from the Kansas City Chiefs.
They hadn't said anything.
Well, Eric Bieniemy said something I'd never heard a coach say in my life.
But my homeboy didn't say that, unless he said that it's not true.
All he did was, against Chicago at the end of the year, he runs to the sideline counting how many teams passed him up.
Yep.
10,
1, 2,
like 9, 4, I guess 5. It was.
I liked it.
Yeah. Did you?
Yeah.
Confidence.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you just rub it in on poor Mitchell Trubisky? Is that all you got?
Yeah,
You're going to rub it in on him? Really? Well, go rub it in on the 49ers. I want to see that.
That's what he plans to do.
Yeah.
But your guy knows every quarterback that was drafted in front of him in 2000. From Spurgeon Wynn to Giovanni, the guy from the 49ers, he knows all of them.
He doesn't have enough fingers or toes to count all of them.
But I'm saying, he got a chip on his shoulder. That's what makes him so great. Now, Patrick Mahomes got the very chip on his shoulder. Now he's being arrogant.
Well, he is arrogant. His body language is arrogant. He thinks he's the football version of a Harlem Globetrotter.
If you don't mind me asking, what was Tom versus Time? Who does a document on themselves while they're playing? Who does that?
He did it after he had won 6 Super Bowls and he was 41 years of age.
They're doing a documentary right now on Michael Jordan, which is 15 years after he played. Now, you talk about your guy that did one while he's currently playing. He did it. Let somebody else do the documentary. You can't do a documentary on yourself.
Can you name another Super Bowl quarterback who has 6 rings with 6 game-winning drives in the fourth quarter? 6!
I get all
How do you do that?
I get all that, but all I'm saying is that let someone else do the documentary. Let someone else tell your story. Why you got to tell it all the time?
Well, Chopra told it, you know.
That's not Chopra.
Well,
so what role did Brady play?
Well, he just went along with it.
Oh, he went along.
Yeah.
So he went along. So this man came up out of the blue and said, you know what? I want to do a story. You ain't got to have no part of it. Just let me do it. And Tom Brady signed up on that.
Well, if I listen to you long enough, they should just call off the next 3 Super Bowls and just award Patrick Mahomes the Super Bowl.
Nah, not the next.
Right?
Not the next.
Call them off.
Just the next 2. Just the next 2. Next 3,
okay.
yeah.
Well, you know what?
3 is too far.
I would love to just see one.
Yes.
And if you show me one, you got me.
Well, look, the game's going to be played on Sunday.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just glad you know who not here.
The confidence from this side of the table, I'm feeling it.
Actually, I do wish you know who was here, because I already know they hang 60 on them.
Are you talking about Carson Wentz?
I'm talking about the Cowboys.
We are not talking about
Hold on. Walking to them was in the playoffs. They had a chance to get here. If your team didn't make the playoffs, I don't want to hear you say foot or ball.
I will tell you that my quarterback, Dak Prescott, put up historical numbers this year. The historical numbers.
Somehow I knew Dak would come in.
They added up to 8 and 8.
No mercy.
And welcome back to South Beach, as Undisputed will be live here all week as we prepare for the Super Bowl. Getting excited for that. Let's talk about that matchup. And one of those QBs, Jimmy Garoppolo, threw just 8 passes in the 49ers NFC Championship win over the Packers as Raheem Mostert led the way with 220 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. In fact, Patrick Mahomes has more passing yards in his 2 second quarters this postseason than Jimmy G has during the entire playoffs. So, Shannon, is Jimmy G overrated or underrated?
I would say he's properly rated or maybe slightly underrated, because what he does is what they ask him to do. You look at when they were down Arizona, Skip, they've asked him to throw the ball 45 times. He throws it 45 times in a comeback win. You see they go on the roll in New Orleans. They fall behind 20-7. 349 yards, 4 touchdowns later, they walk out of there with a win. The 2 3rd and 16s. 3rd and 16. Now, somebody was just a minute ago, he picked up 3 3rd and 10s. 2 3rd and 16s is what Jimmy G did against the Rams.
I'm talking about the AFC Championship
I'm talking about what Jimmy G did.
Who, against Arizona?
Oh, my goodness.
Come on.
You know what? How about this? I'm going to put it to you like this. His lack of throwing the football in the playoffs has nothing to do with his ability. It has everything to do with the defense's inability to stop the run game. You would be foolish to get 7-8 yards a clip and all of a sudden, hey, Jimmy, since we paying you $27 million, how about you drop back and throw it 50 times? I wish they might. Kyle Shanahan understands this. In order for us to win this game cannot be Jimmy Garoppolo versus Patrick Mahomes. It's going to be our running game versus Patrick Mahomes. Jimmy G is more than capable. What burns you, what's still in your craw, is that Coach Belichick wanted to move forward with Jimmy G.
And it would have been a disaster.
No, it wouldn't.
Yes, it would.
Because guess what he's doing right now? He's sitting in Bob Kraft's office right now with his foot on Mr. Kraft's desk. Hey, Bob, we could have been in Miami. That's where we're supposed to have been.
And Bob is saying, why don't you just go down to Miami and stay?
I bet he's not saying that.
I'll bet he just...
Because I got a couple of dollars on us. Anybody get Coach Belichick, I'll pitch in.
Well... Who won the first go-round between those two? Brady or Belichick?
Brady won.
Thank you. So, back to Jimmy G. He is obviously overrated because he was the guy Belichick 2 years ago said, I'm going to replace Tom Brady with. It would not have worked because you see how it's not working in San Francisco. You tell me week after week. The potential weakest link is Jimmy G.
Yes.
He's got the haywire gene in him. He can just go haywire at a moment's notice.
Skip, what was the weakest link for the Patriots?
The weakest link? What are you talking about?
You're talking about Tom Brady.
No, I'm talking about Julian Edelman.
Oh, now you...
Okay, well, he just
bragged little Julian.
Well, he was beat all to hell. He just had shoulder surgery. He's got everything wrong with it. That was the weakest link because that was the only receiver Brady had. The only one who could remotely separate. But this is the guy you've been telling me all year. They have to cover him up.
Yes.
They have to make sure they sort of hide him with the running game that is creatively designed that when he does have to pass, it's off play action in which nobody sees it's coming.
Right.
Right?
But Skip, see, what you're trying to do is that you're trying to compare Jimmy G in his really first full year of starting to a 9, 10 year starting Tom Brady. That's unfair. Look at Tom Brady in his first full year of starting and look at where he was. Who's better? Jimmy G or Tom Brady, his first go-around starting? Stop playing.
Tom Brady led the game-winning drive as a first-year starter against the St. Louis Rams.
And what did they do? Run the football and play defense. Tom Brady wasn't throwing the football all over the yard like he is now.
Yeah, but this is the guy who was supposed to be ready to replace him.
He is.
He had gotten to start games in New England. And now I'm looking. Do you realize in 20-plus yard completions, Jimmy Garoppolo was dead last in the NFL? He's dinking and dunking with the run game. That's all.
Your guys made a career dinking and dunking.
Oh, stop it. Stop it. Tom Brady or Dak? Who are you talking about?
So you got two guys that's dinking and dacking all over the place.
Wait a second. Dak Prescott was in the top 5 in air distance, yards thrown, how far the pass traveled.
And he was top 15 of teams that didn't make the playoffs.
Oh, okay. Tom Brady has 6 Super Bowl rings with 6 game-winning drives. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to maybe go along for the ride to a Super Bowl ring off an offense that is based on Mostert and Breida and Tevin Coleman.
But that's why the Patriots were built like this. Tom Brady became this. He wasn't this in the beginning.
Yes, he was.
No, he
More
wasn't.
than you think he was.
He threw 1 touchdown pass in his first playoff run.
He completed 5 straight passes in a game-winning drive in which John Madden's sitting up in the booth saying, they should shut it down and play for overtime. And what happened?
So let me ask you a question.
A field goal happened to win the game.
Let me ask you a question. So if this were to happen, if Jimmy G leads a game-winning drive, are you going to come on there on Monday and give him his credit?
Well, you know that's not going to happen.
We got a whole week of this. Don't worry. We'll have so much more. Who will steal the show at opening night tonight? That is next.
No mercy.
Well, Super Bowl opening night kicks off tonight on FS1, where players and coaches from both teams will interact with the media, and there will be plenty to discuss about the X's and O's of the game. But this is typically the time when a media darling emerges and steals the show, something our own guy right here knows something about. So, Shannon, who will be the Shannon Sharpe of the week?
Well, Sherman's been here too many times to say anything crazy, so I think he'll be very low-key. I'm going to probably go with Travis Kelce. Now, you remember Skip Frank Clark said 2 weeks ago, Derrick Henry is not that good. He should run harder than for his size. He don't run hard enough.
Well, he backed it up, so I give him that.
So I'm going to say probably Kelsey or Frank Clark.
The Chiefs lead the NFL in arrogance, so I think they will dominate the Super Bowl week quotes, and I think the 49ers will sit back and listen. That's what's going to happen.
That's what's going to happen, huh?
Yeah, and I think Richard will only talk about Richard, but he won't talk about the opponent.
You do realize the game is not played until Sunday, right? So whether you say a little or a lot, you still got to play the game.
I think
so I'm going to have me some fun.
The Chiefs got like 9 Shannon Sharpes going on. So, and I can barely handle one. So,
That is hard to do.
That's right. I'm gonna let that one slide. I'll get you tomorrow.
You're gonna have to.
Yeah, I get him tomorrow.
That is it for us, guys. We will be back tomorrow morning.
No mercy.
Thanks for listening to the Undisputed Podcast. I'm Jenny Taft. Join us again at the same time tomorrow morning, 9:30 Eastern. We'll see you then.
Fox Sports. One of one.